Now, a fair few years ago, and certainly a fair few cakes ago, I was sent as a young journalist to go and road test the new Honda CR-V. And back then, Honda were very proud of the brand new diesel engine they put in the car for maximum efficiency. Well, this is the latest generation CR-V, and things have changed because there's not even a diesel available. This is the alternative, the CR-V Hybrid. The Honda CR-V has been around for as long as, well, pretty much SUVs. It was here long before it became popular to see them on the school run. So it's had plenty of time to evolve and calibrate itself to exactly what people want an SUV for. Part of that is the way it looks. And I have to say, this car's certainly matured along the way. It's got Honda's latest family face, of course, with a big broad grille. It's got tasteful levels of chrome to take it a little bit further up market, but also there's a few subtle creases here and there just to give it a bit of character. Okay, so by and large it looks quite similar to the previous generation, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. It looks grown up. And for those people who aren't buying an SUV for a great big, hey, look at me type Hyundai Kona affair, then the Honda is a nice thing to have in your driveway. And in this pearl effect, the neighbours have been giving it plenty of attention this week too. Whilst the exterior of the car has taken the evolutionary path, the interior is a bit more of a revolution, certainly in comparison to its predecessor. In here we'll find even higher quality materials than before. Not that Hondas were shabby in the first place, they always have a nice solidified feel to them. Nothing's going to fall off in your hand. It's a car that feels like it's built to last. But there's just some plusher touches here and there, and you'll certainly find trims like this wood effect as well, draws the whole cabin a little further up market. There are a few questionable scratchy plastics around, but by and large, it's a pretty nice place to be. Our SR specification car gets things like a touchscreen infotainment display with Apple CarPlay, these nice heated leather seats, and a handful of other gizmos. However, I will say it's a godsend that this infotainment system comes packaged with Apple CarPlay, because the actual operating system that Honda uses is a bit of a faff, if I'm honest. It's menu inside menu, there are things that are hidden, and it's not the easiest thing to just start using. Yes, the more you use it, the more you get used to it, but it doesn't stop it from being frustrating when you just want to jump in and change something quickly. I mean, thank goodness that there's still some physical controls for the dual zone air conditioning. From behind the wheel, the CR-V provides that lofty driving position that SUV owners crave, and a really comfortable perch to sit on. These seats are great for long distance driving. But if you're after driving engagement, I'm afraid you'll have to look elsewhere. The steering is precise, not full of feel, it's accurate, not necessarily the most engaging thing, and there's a bit of body roll to go with that too. If you're after a bit of a thrill behind the wheel whilst being able to take the dog and the kids to school, you might want to take a look at the Mazda CX-5. However, I have to say the Honda has a lot of its rivals pegged on refinement, and we will come on to that in a second. In the back there's plenty of space with seating for 3, with loads of head and legroom too, and the boot is a pretty generous 497 litres. There is a 7-seat version of the CR-V. You can't have it as the hybrid because that's where all the battery gubbins ends up. But either way, there's plenty of space for the dog, the shop, and various other bulky items thanks to its nice wide opening. Under the bonnet of the Honda CR-V Hybrid is a 2-litre petrol engine that's also combined with a battery and an electric motor. Now, it's not quite your conventional hybrid system in that actually the engine only drives the front wheels when it really has to. The battery does most of the lugging around, with the engine only coming in to charge the battery or support whenever it really needs to, so whenever you're really pushing on. Now, the biggest giveaway whenever the engine kicks in is not actually a clunk or any change in mannerism of the car, it's actually the noise, because it's paired with a CVT gearbox, which generally makes a blaring, mooing noise whenever you are on the throttle with the car in any serious way. It's not the most pleasant thing to listen to, but the good thing is it hardly seems to kick in at any serious RPM. I have to say that overall tranquility in here is great, and it's one of the biggest assets of this Honda. Now, I just touched on that this car was front-wheel drive, but don't worry, if you really do need all-wheel drive, then it's available as an option on most specifications. Most of the time you're cruising around town with that engine barely ticking over, just keeping the battery charged up, which also gains a lot of extra strength through regenerative braking. Now the battery itself depletes quite quickly, especially when you're in EV only mode, but it also recharges quite considerably. You know, a few turns of hard braking and that meter has filled right back up again. Overall performance is reasonably brisk with 181 brake horsepower at your disposal. In terms of economy, we've actually managed to best the CR-V's official WLTP figure, getting about 45 to 46 mpg, which isn't bad for a petrol SUV of this size. Whilst the long distance motorway haulers will bemoan the loss of the 1.6 diesel engine in the CR-V, and certainly I think it would make a great addition to the range should Honda add it at a later date, I feel that the CR-V hybrid is a great package all in all, particularly if you spend a lot of your time in an urban environment. If you fancy one of these on your driveway, it starts from just under £30,000.